Okay, Mr. Drapeau, right? So I've known Mike since 2005. Mike has 8 kids, so we know he's crazy. And he also adopted one of them, so we know he's extra crazy. He also played rugby till you were 47 years old. So Mike runs delivery. Does everybody here know who SBI is, or Sales Benchmark Index? I mean, everybody gets emails from them all the time, and the content is really great. So Greg Alexander and I have been friends since 2005, and Mike's one of the founders here. So again, he runs all delivery for Sales Benchmark Index. He lives here in Atlanta. He's a local guy, and he truly understands sales org design. I think he went through the exit at Ariba. Can't remember what year that was, like 2005 or 4. And then was at EMC and worked with Greg there and helped build that organization during its scaling years, and then started SBI shortly thereafter. But SBI works with some of the most dynamic, large-scale sales organizations around the country and around the globe, and has made themselves into a really premier sales consultancy. So we're really lucky to have him today, and I really hope that everybody gets a chance to learn something special from him. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mike. So let's get your hands together.
Thank you. Yeah. Everything Kyle just said is true. There's some things he didn't say they're true, but I'll leave those for the question and answer period. Thank you for taking your time out this morning to join me, and even missing some of the things that you've got in your own businesses. I'm hoping at the end of the day today you feel like as though the time was worth it. You'll notice I've got a couple people in the audience here that are partners of mine in the firm. We've got a lot to talk about today. I did want to start off by saying, oftentimes this topic of sales org design, people think, oh, that's a big company thing. I'm a small company. All I need to do is go hire some salespeople, and that'll be done with it. And nothing could be further from the truth, not the least of which is because small companies, when they make hiring mistakes, it's more painful to them and more threatening than large companies. I mean, large companies can make a couple bad hires, like whatever, and they'll move on. You can't. So the disciplines and the sort of the topics and the concepts I'm going to cover today are even more applicable to a small business than a large business. So some of you may be CEOs, some of you may be sales reps, some of you may be just interested. And I'm pretty sure that these set of slides is available to you via Kyle. If not, my card should be out on the chairs. You can email me and I'll send it to you so you have it it's got a lot of takeaway value. So we're going to cover some deep topics here today. Some of these things will require a little cogitation. And so you'll have that to be able to kind of refer to. And I also wanted to say to one point, some of you are sitting on chairs that have magazines. If you are not, there's some extra ones here. So to explain to you a little bit about SBI as a B2B sales and marketing consultancy, we believe in thought. We believe in content that stimulates people to action. So one of the things we do is we produce a massive amount of content for free. So if any of you are not subscribers to our website, which costs nothing, by the way, shame on you, because you are missing the best bathroom reading in Georgia, okay? So, and it's kind of paradoxical for a consulting company, because most consulting companies gate their content. Why? Because we've got a lot of smart people, and you have to pay us. There's a tax that we charge you to get into what we know. And so there's that sort of, you step back like, I don't know if I want to do that because I don't want to have your clutches on me. Whereas our view is we're going to produce and give to you. We have TV shows, podcasts, magazines, blogs, an app, all of it free. And the reason is simply that some people are never going to pay consultancy. I know that's painful to me personally. I would rather seed ideas with you and have you take it and try it yourself and find it to be successful, because later, I'm hoping you will introduce me to somebody who will pay for consultancy. And so gating it provides no value to us. So enjoy this magazine. If you like it, subscribe. We'll ship it free to your door every other month in perpetuity. So that's kind of the value add here, is you get, again, great bathroom reading. Okay, so let's jump in here. Let's put our org design hat on and talk about what usually happens. So first of all, you say to yourself, org design is simple, right? We start here. We hire a geography-based generalist. So what does that mean? It means for all of you, you hire one person and their territory is North America. Have a nice day, right? So can't you sell something, right? And that's the beginning. Some cases, you may be a one-man band and you are your CEO and your own CFO and you're your sales rep. So then you actually get a success and suddenly an idea occurs to you, we should kind of split by activity. We should have hunters and farmers, right? Vegans on the left, meat eaters on the right. So you kind of make that distinction. You find one person, you decide that sales rep that you have, he or she needs to move this way, and you hire somebody else and you declare victory, go home and say, I'm very smart, right? So then suddenly you start to get a little more traction and you start to run into more customers because your white space is basically 10 million companies, whoever you're selling to. And you say, you know what, I should put a little more thought into this. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire a company like MarketSource, and they're going to do outsourced inside sales for me. Or I'm going to go hire a strategic account manager, which means the 3 companies that are paying me the most money, I'm going to put Sally on those, and she's just going to absolutely love them. She's a strategic account manager. And of course, none of those companies ever approved Sally and ever cared, but she's my strategic account manager. And so then again, you go home early that day declaring success. And so then finally you say, you know what, we're getting more product, we're getting more sophisticated, we need experts. Why? Because I just got beaten in 3 deals in a row by somebody who walked in, some talking head with a lot of big words, and my guy, my gal, she was told, thanks very much, we don't need your services any longer. So you hire these sort of super smart people, and you pay them a god-awful amount of money. Sometimes they're making more than you are, but somehow in a meeting, they spread pixie dust and you win the deal. So you hire these people. And your sales budget starts to swell. You start looking at, okay, here's my revenue. Oh, I'm paying all these people all that much money? And the answer is yes, you are. So then, because you're innovative, you got new products, and then you find you invest all this money in products or new service offerings, whatever it is, and you can't sell them, right? All those smart people, the talkies, they can't sell the product. Why? Because you need product specialists. So then you hire someone who's the evangelist of your product, and you push them out of the market, and before you know it, you got 8 salespeople. Every single person has a different job description. Every single person has a different comp plan. And you're not going home early anymore, right? Because it's so what? Complex. You're confused. You say, I'm a small company. Isn't it supposed to be easy for me? Why is it so hard? All right? And this is sort of the cul-de-sac everybody ends up in eventually. Now, this happens to big companies. It happens to medium companies. It happens to small companies. And it's just because it tracks the natural evolution of a company over time as its product sort of hits the marketplace matures, and this is where you end up. So just a quick show of hands. Does this look like you? Or has this ever looked like any organization you've been in? Raise your hand. Okay, fair enough. All right, so the first part of our talk is over. So hopefully I got your attention, okay? All right, so get ready for sales org design. All right, so I got your attention. So now what the hell am I supposed to do? Well, first of all, what is sales org design? So here's my consulting slide. There's only one. And this is a functional discipline. If you go on our website and you look around, you see all of our service offerings. One of them is actually sales org design. So as a consultant, our firm offers this as a product. So we go in and we sell for the low price of probably $375,000 a product to do nothing other than this. Okay, so and it's probably that's on the low end, but that's the real deal. We sell this all the time like hotcakes. So why might you do this? So here's your first pattern match. Is this you? Are your customers changing how they're purchasing? Has their buying behavior, has their cadence, has their rhythm changed? Is your sales capability, is your selling motions not in line with your corporate strategy? This happens all the time. The CEO's fast moving, right? The butterfly moves, CEO's after it, right? So the strategy is changing all the time, and the salespeople are selling what was hot 3 years ago, right? Is there a divergence? And lastly, is there some sort of impact on the sales spend and your ability to deliver revenue? And this is true. You can be spending too little on sales. Some of you may have heard the concept of customer lifetime value and customer acquisition costs, CAC and LTV. More 3-letter acronyms, right? We need more of that. But anyway, it's a shorthand way of saying, how much does it cost me to acquire a customer? How much money can I squeeze out of them over the lifetime of that relationship? Compare the two. One should be more than the other, a lot more than the other. In some cases, it's too much more. In other words, I have a long customer lifetime value and I have a short small customer acquisition cost. I think about how profitable I am, but in reality, I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. So that means I should hire more people, because in the end, I'll make a little bit less profit over a lot more revenue. But usually people find it the other way around, which is I've got a high customer acquisition cost and I have a short lifetime value, so I'm kind of out of round. All right? So these are some of the reasons people come to us and say, here, take our money, help us please get better at sales organization design. All right, so what does it optimize? Sales organization design optimizes your structure, who reports to whom, right? Who gets the corner office? Roles. One of the biggest things we see in even medium-sized companies is what we call role corruption. How does role corruption work? If you're Sally and you're really good, you get to sell hunters, then you get to sell farmers, then you get to make the coffee, then you get to introduce new customers, then you get to onboard those customers, and suddenly you're doing 8 roles. And the CEO never really thinks about the corruption of Sally's day. Her comp plan's focused on exactly 1/10 of her job. But she's been given so many things to do. Sally, why aren't you more productive? Why aren't you doing the things I've told you to do? Boss, here's what I'm supposed to do. And then sizing. And this is one of the things that sizing is one of these, hey, it's so easy to do until you actually start to do it. If I give you a bright sheet of paper and I said, hey, how many reps should you have and why? You first start, oh, that's easy, 6. Okay, why 6? Well, because we have 5 now and we need more selling. Okay, why not 7? How about 8? When do you stop and why do you stop? And I'm going to ask this difficult question to one of our panelists here in a little bit and they'll tell you. Okay, here's another techno speak. What are the different types of org models? There's 6 basic dimensions of structure. Each one of these is a different way to align your force. You can actually align your sales force towards to whom they're selling. That's number 4. You can align your sales force towards industry vertical. This is a lot of bigger companies move in this direction like, oh gosh, we need our manufacturing and our healthcare and our financial services sales rep. Here's an interesting study that was done, not by us unfortunately, but it was done a couple years ago, which is that, believe it or not, if you structure your sales force by vertical and you have there's no product flavor to your product. In other words, your product is no different for financial services than it is for manufacturing. You will actually get a bump in sales. You will win more deals. Your deals will be a little bit bigger just because you have a vertically aligned sales force. However, when you have a vertically aligned sales force, there's an expectation that you have more people with more vertical expertise, and it costs more. So you have to make that sort of cost-benefit trade-off. You will get a pop, but will your pop be big enough? The answer is, I don't know. You'll have to find out. You have to hire a consultant. Anyway, so this is not meant to read. This is for those of you who get the slide deck from Kyle. This is a long list of a series of sales roles. Most people, so don't try to read it, just listen to me. Most people talk to CEO and they think, we need sales roles. And the CEO thinks, okay, sales role, salesperson, that's it. What could be more easy? And this just shows you these are all the different gradations of different types of salespeople. Each salesperson gets a different comp plan. They have a different role description. They have a different set of tasks. They require a different set of competencies, different accountabilities. It's all different. Selling isn't what it used to be, right? It's more differentiated than it used to be not so many years ago. All right, what are some common pitfalls? If any of you have fell on these yourself, or if any of you have created these pitfalls, they are just add more heads. How many times have I heard of that, right? And that rapidly becomes, I can't believe you hired more people, right? 6 months later. Second one is avoid disrupting the customer. There's another one CEOs don't think about. If I just hire more people, they'll get it done. Well, what they don't realize is that, well, there's only so much territory, and you don't want to give someone a completely virgin patch. You want to be able to give them some customers. Then there's a customer handoff, and one person gets kicked over, customer gets kicked over another. The customer complains. They call the CEO. It's a big problem. They don't think about customer disruption. Time sinks. So one of the big gotchas out there is that there's a lot of people that are in the selling function who are doing a lot of non-selling tasks. One of the things we talk about here is a time study, which I'll get to, and that is you've really got to think about how much burden you're placing on your people for not getting in front of the customer, the sort of admin stuff. And lastly, tyranny of local management. This is probably the biggest one. You say, what do you mean? How could a local manager be tyrannical? And it's simple that when you come up with the great solution that's been architected in corporate inside the bubble, right? You're in the office, you come up with the solution, you run out and say, here's the new structure. And that hits the street, and the very first thing that happens is the sales manager looks at it and says, I don't think so. I'm going to do it my way, right? I like Frank Sinatra. So you can get a whole bunch of different sales managers all doing it their own way until corporate arrives, right? Why are you doing it this way? You should have done it the other way. And so you have to really take into account the influence that your local sales management has on the structure, or else you're going to come up with a whiteboard solution that isn't going to go anywhere. All right, so now we're at the how-to part. So this is gosh, I thought I was going to come here and learn how to do sales org design, but all I heard was a consultant with a lot of blah, blah, blah. All right, so this is your 12-step approach. So there is a slide for each one of these. Each slide is relatively dense with a lot of concepts. Again, get this presentation, take it home, put it on your desk and say, how am I going to go through these steps to either increase or decrease my sales force, or possibly maybe the number doesn't change, but the roles change? Here's how you do it. So I'm showing you the secret sauce. If you were going to show up and put $375,000 on my desk, this is what I'm going to do. Okay, so you now know. Number one, what is the view from the top, right? What do the executives say? You'd be surprised, but some people want to go dive in and start changing the sales force without even understanding what the corporate vision is. It actually matters, right? Generating revenue is important because sometimes the green revenue is better than the yellow revenue. You need to understand what type of revenue you want, from whom, why, when, etc. So what is your prospect and your customer universe? This may seem easy, like I've got 8 customers and my prospect universe is America. Okay, fair enough. But it's a little harder, a little more than that because every customer is not the same. Some customers, even though they may be the same company size, the same industry, selling the same product, one is much more likely to buy your product than another. E-Trade and Raymond James are both in financial services and retail. They're radically different companies, and they're much less likely to buy from you or another based upon what your product or service is. So you have to understand your prospect universe. One of the things we do is we create a thing called a propensity to buy formula. We actually, this is true, render your white space universe to a set of variables we plug in, and for those of you who like math, a formula comes out at the end, says allows you to compare 2 companies that look on the outside to be about the same, but one is much more than the other, more likely to buy. Why does that matter? Because when you hire that meat-eating, non-vegan hunter sales rep, and you give him or her the phone book and say, go, that's a terrible way to use that human capital. You want to give them a prioritized list of accounts with a propensity to buy score so they know that every single minute of their time is optimized, okay? Because so that and they know that they're not wasting their time. Why? Because they're a meat-eating sales rep and they have a comp plan, they want to make a lot of money, and if you give them a phone book, they're not going to make a lot of money and they're going to be out the door. And you're going to be back hiring the next person making the same mistake. So this is a huge step. Then a time study. I made this comment before that there's a lot of time sinks and you're not aware of them. And by the way, if you're the CEO and you ask your sales rep, hey, what are you spending your time on? He or she's going to say 10% selling and 90% bullshit, right? So just remember the salesperson is going to be playing you on that. Why? Because they want you to remove every burden from them so they can sell. At least if they're a good salesperson, they will. But so there are ways to get at the actual non-selling time with sort of cutting through that positioning statement that they're going to have. But in the end, understand that you are imposing either intentionally or unintentionally a burden on your salespeople that is impacting your bottom line. Roles and responsibilities. This goes to the whole role corruption thing I talked about. When you actually, if you ever do this exercise, here's one thing you can do when you get back. Take your salespeople, person, whoever it is, and just say, what are you guys doing every day? And just start laying it out. What are their roles? And then take a look at their job description. I guarantee you there's a huge divergence with what they're doing and what you think that they're supposed to do. One of them is right and one of them is wrong, but they ain't going to be the same. So a RACI, if those of you have heard of a RACI diagram, again, another consulting artifact, is a way of saying, what are you responsible for? What are you accountable for? What should you be consulted on? And what should you be informed on? It's just a way to get your arms around this whole concept of role corruption and get rid of as much of it as you possibly can. Everybody does a couple things. You're not going to get a one-trick pony, but you want to make sure that the person is as close as possible doing what their job description says, and hopefully you haven't updated your job descriptions. You have updated your job description, so it reads what you want. Salary requirements. This may seem a little easier than it is, right? Why? Because you can go off to Glassdoor, or you can go to Connexa at IBM, or you can go to any number of different comp benchmarking sources, Radford, and you spend a bunch of money, you buy a bunch of comp data, you then present it to the sales rep, and they say, I don't think so. I'm much better than the average, right? You don't want an average person. So you need this as a baseline, but don't think for 1 second that buying benchmark data is going to solve your problem. It's not, and that's kind of funny for me, right? Sales benchmark index. But I'm here to tell you that that's just the beginning. B stands for beginning in benchmark. Because from there, you have to understand, do I want sales excellence or do I want sales mediocrity? Don't say the word excellence right away. Be careful. Excellence costs a lot of money. So if you buy excellence and you don't have your shit together, like in the sales org design, you're going to pay a lot of money and you're not going to get as much value. And you're going to blame the sales rep and you should blame yourself. Okay? So make sure you understand that you are ready to reap the value of what you want to pay for. So create a pro forma org model. So what we talked earlier on about the different sort of dimensions, you'll put something together that's right for you, the right balance of hunter, farmer, vertical expertise, product specialist, pre-sales engineer, all of that. Put it together and say, okay, if we were to go to market to look like this, what are the pros and cons? How does it impact our customer community? How does it impact our prospect community? Does it make us more or less likely to win a deal? Am I able to become the company that my strategy says I'm supposed to be? One of the biggest things that has been, as I was going to say, the biggest trend in the past couple of years is customer success, right? Everybody thinks they know what customer success is. I guarantee you 90% of you have no idea what it is, and you think you do, all right? So that's, of course, why you want to hire a consultant like me so I can tell you what customer success is. But I'll tell you what customer success isn't. Customer success isn't hiring more sales reps and telling them to be closer to the customer, right? Telling marketing they should be more customer-centric. That's not customer success. Think about customer success this way. When you go buy a product from a company, could be in a business context or a retail context, and you interact with that company, you interact with a sales rep, you see their marketing literature, you talk to their accounts receivable department, you do customer service. Do you think of that as one company or four companies? You think of it as one company. Like, hey, that's Acme. I'm interacting with all the people in Acme. And you form an impression of Acme overall. It's as it should be. Unfortunately, Acme thinks of them as four companies: the marketing department, the sales department, the customer service department, accounts receivable department, and they don't talk to each other, they don't like each other, they don't go to the same churches, there's no common organizational management. I mean, all the way to the top, they meet at the CEO. There's no way those organizations work together. And there's others that also touch the customer. So customer success is all about realizing, how am I touching my customer community, all the different points, and coordinating those, providing structured organizational management, common processes, shared information. Oh, there's a lot of things about that. And let me tell you, this rocks a company, even a medium-sized company, realizing that suddenly I'm not just in charge of sales, or the customer service department is accountable for things they never used to be accountable for. So, and the consulting artifact that comes out of this is called a customer touch point analysis. Have you ever heard about that? That was caused by somebody like me who came in and sold a big deal to your company and said, you need to do this. And in reality, you kind of do need to do this. So if you want to bootstrap it, do one yourself, but be careful. Because you'll find, if you do a customer touchpoint analysis, that you're probably not providing a one company experience to your customers. And then you'll say to yourself, that was painful. I guess I need to change, right? I guess I need to provide a one company experience to my customers, and that will require you to change, right? The only thing negative about change is the changing part of it. And that is what causes a ripple in these organizations. Okay, build financial models, right? Something only a CFO could like. So CFO's first favorite word is what? No. And eventually, at some point in time, you have to pull the CFO in and build a financial model that says, how much is too much? How little is too little? How are you going to be able to justify financially the hiring of new reps, right? They always want to say, you're paying the rep too much. Let's pull that compensation away from him. I know they're about to get a big check, but I think we should stop the check because I want some more money. And it's always in the corporate company's best interest. So there's nobody more likely to be Dr. No than the CFO. But if you try to come up with a new sales org model without doing the financial modeling, again, you'll go through all this work and right here you'll stop. So this is an important component. Selling cadence. Everybody forgets about this. So let me ask you a question. For those of you who are in charge of selling or are selling yourselves, do you have a cadence? And what I mean by that is, do you know what does good look like in terms of how many hours you're supposed to spend per client, how many calls you're supposed to have, how long should a sales campaign be, what is my investment capital in each customer? Do you sit down and say, I've got a territory, I've got 10 customers. I need to touch each of those customers 5 times this year. I need to have this much face-to-face time with them. And that's how, or same thing with prospects. That's how I know I'm doing well. Who has a sales cadence? Can you raise your hand, please? Known sales cadence. Only a couple people. So as a leader of your company, or even as a sales manager or a VP of sales, this is a huge omission. You must tell your sales reps what good looks like as a cadence. If you don't, they're going to do whatever the hell they want. They're going to over or underinvest in accounts because they don't know. And worse, they think they know, right? So if you're as a leader and you haven't established a good sales cadence, you're leaving a huge hole for you to lose customers or spend too much time with customers that at the expense of prospects. So establishing a sales cadence. Finalizing your headcount. So this is where you're so close you can almost taste it, right? You've done all this work. You finally come up with your org model. I'm showing a stratified model here because everybody loves to see the big pyramid with the big people on the top and all the little minions at the bottom. Sometimes this is one person, right? Sometimes one person is the whole triangle all of themselves. So you come up with this, you're almost there, but wait. You have to decide how to do it. What do I mean by that? So there's actually ways to increase. I'm assuming you're increasing, but you could be decreasing your sales force. There's ways to do it, right? You can fire everybody on a Friday, or you can hire everybody on a Monday, or you can do it over time, or you can do it based on financial tripwires or customer tripwires. There's basic ways to increase or decrease your sales force, and there are models for that. Again, it's models only consultants could love. We're almost there. We're almost done. All right, risk mitigation. So before you pull the trigger and start your sales expansion or sales contraction or even just keeping everyone the same but changing what they're doing, assess and mitigate your risk, which again, another activity only a consultant could love, but this actually is real value. Why? Because it gets you brainstorming about Murphy's Law. What could go wrong? Answer, almost anything. So try as best you can plan for it. Doesn't take a lot of time. Come up with your mitigation strategies. If this thing looks like it's about to happen or does happen, here's what I'm going to do. You do that ahead of time, and therefore you're ahead of the game. And most of these things won't happen, but some will. And when they will, it won't be a surprise because you already thought about it. So do this. And lastly, measure the rollout. So one of the things you should do is you should set some expectations, leading indicator metrics, behavioral metrics, lagging indicator metrics. One of the worst things that CEOs do is they only focus on lagging indicator metrics. Revenue, 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 new customers, I need that. Like, okay, great, but that comes at the end. It doesn't come at the beginning. So when you stick a gun to the head of your new sales rep and fire it because they didn't bring a customer in a week and a half, you're the problem, not the sales rep. You need to identify what are the behavioral index, what are the behaviors, the net new behaviors I want from my new people or my current people? What are the things I want to start doing, and what are the things I want them to stop doing? Know what those are. Then there's the leading metrics. There's not revenue. You can't take a leading indicator to the bank. But what you can do is know, okay, I have this number of qualified leads using the correct qualification criteria in Salesforce.com. This month and last month, I had half that. That's a leading indicator. I still can't take any of that to the bank. But what I can do is know that that is essentially a projection of what's going to happen. I'm going to put money in my pocket 6 months from now because today I can see that my qualified lead index has gone up, all right, or my leads by persona have gone up, any number of different leading indicators. So that's the 12-step process. And in the end, you get something that looks like this, right? Again, a slide only a consultant can love, but it tells you who do I have, how many do I have, who do they report to, what are their roles and responsibilities, how much business should they generate, what's the financial over-under, will I keep my CFO happy, what is my remediation process if bad things happen, etc. This is what you get. By the way, if you're going to pay me $375,000, you'll get more than one slide. But this is sort of the output of a structured engagement or of your own personal thought process when you go home tonight and you figure out, like, holy cow, I need to worry about my sales force. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you so much.